Emma Hartley stepped out of the transport shuttle and into the cold air of stellar station Harmony. The station was massive. Everything around her looked strange and new. Tall buildings made of materials she did not recognize stood in rows. The sky was not a sky at all, but the dark space of the galaxy showing through a clear dome above her head. She was 14 years old and the youngest person in Earth's diplomatic team. Her father was dead. He had been a scientist, and that was why the Earth government had chosen her. They said she was smart like him. They said she would help her people. Emma did not feel smart right now. She felt small. Dr. Kevin Hayes walked next to her. He was not really her father, but Earth's government had assigned him to take care of her during the mission. He was tall and kind, but his mind was always on the work. Right now he was looking at a computer pad in his hands and barely paying attention to her. "Stay close to me," he said without looking up. "The station is complex. You could get lost." Emma nodded. She was used to adults not really seeing her. They passed through the main corridor of the station. Emma saw aliens of many different kinds. Some had bodies made of crystal that caught the light and threw it in different directions. These were the Zillions. Others had skin that looked like metal. Some had too many arms. Some had no arms at all. Emma tried not to stare. She did not want to seem rude. A tall crystalline being blocked their path. This was Vex Theron, a Zillion diplomatic officer. He looked at Emma with eyes that had no pupils. It was hard to know what he was thinking. "So this is the human child," Vex Theron said. His voice sounded like pieces of glass moving against each other. "They told me you were fragile. I can see they were correct. Your bones are soft. Your skin tears easily. How do you survive in nature?" Emma wanted to say something back to him. She wanted to tell him that humans could survive in many places. But she did not. She just looked down at the ground. "Emma is very intelligent," Dr. Hayes said. "She has studied xenobiology. She can be very useful to the diplomatic talks." Vex Theron made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Intelligence does not matter when your body can break so easily. On my world, we do not need to think much. We are very strong. We are very perfect. That is why the Zillions lead the galaxy. The weak species must follow. That is the way of nature." He moved away from them, and they continued walking. Emma did not see it at first. Small things kept happening. A light above her head in the corridors would flicker when she passed. She thought it was just a broken light. A piece of equipment fell from a shelf near her in the station's storage area. The worker there said it happened sometimes. The temperature in her sleeping room kept changing. Sometimes it was very cold. Sometimes it was very hot. When she reported it, the maintenance computer said there was no problem with the system. After 3 days, Emma noticed something else. The cameras in the hallway near her room were not working. She saw the red lights that should be blinking were off. When she walked through other corridors, the cameras were working fine. Only the ones near where she spent her time were broken. She tried to tell Dr. Hayes. He was sitting in the research lab, looking at star maps and trade agreements. His face showed that he did not want to be interrupted. "The cameras near my room are not working," she said. He looked up for just a moment. "The station systems probably need maintenance. These things happen. Do not worry about it. You are safe here. The Council has many security measures." He went back to his work. Emma left the lab and walked through the station. She felt like something was wrong, but she could not explain it to anyone. The adults were too busy. They did not listen to her. In the market area of the station, she saw a Ziphian. These were an insectoid species with many arms. This one was smaller than most Ziphians, which meant it was younger. It was looking at Earth goods that humans had brought to trade. "You are Emma Hartley," the Ziphian said. Its voice was soft. "I am Lyra. I study interspecies relations. I have been watching the pattern too." Emma felt shocked. "What pattern?" Lyra looked around to make sure no one was listening. "The cameras. The small accidents. The isolation. It has a pattern. Someone is doing this on purpose. I thought you should know. I thought you might need help." For the first time since arriving at the station, Emma did not feel completely alone. That night, Emma could not sleep. She lay in her cold room and thought about what Lyra had said. Someone was trying to hurt her. But why? She was just a young girl from Earth. She was not important. She had not done anything to anyone. She went to the computer terminal in her room and tried to access the maintenance records for the cameras. At first, she found the data. She could see that the cameras had been disabled manually. Someone had used high-level access codes to turn them off. But when she tried to save the information, the files deleted themselves. The records disappeared like they had never existed. Emma heard something in the corridor outside her room. It sounded like crystalline beings moving past. Their sounds were like wind chimes made of ice. She turned off the light and sat in the darkness. She did not know who was doing this or why. She only knew that she was being watched by someone who did not want her here. And she knew that when that someone finally decided to hurt her, no one would see it happen. The cameras would be off. The records would be deleted. And even if she called for help, she wondered if anyone would hear her before it was too late. In the darkness of her room on a station full of thousands of beings, Emma Hartley was very much alone. She was 14 years old and far from home. And she was beginning to understand that her life at Stellar Station Harmony was in real danger. Outside, the stars continued to shine. The station continued to function. And in the shadows, those who wanted her gone began to make their plans. Emma met Lyra again in a quiet section of the station's botanical gardens. The plants here came from hundreds of worlds. The air smelled like growing things in soil. It was one of the few places where they could talk without being seen by too many others. Lyra had brought data files with her. The Ziphian's multiple arms moved quickly as she organized the information on a small screen. "I have been studying the station systems for weeks," Lyra said. "I noticed small problems first. Camera malfunctions. Equipment failures. But they were all in one area. The area where you spend time." Emma leaned in to look at the data. Lyra was right. The pattern was clear. The cameras near the research lab were disabled. The cameras near the sleeping quarters were off. The cameras in the recreation areas where Emma went to study were not working. But in every other part of the station, the cameras functioned perfectly. "Someone did this on purpose," Emma said. Her voice sounded small and scared. "Yes," Lyra said. "And it is not simple sabotage. Whoever did this has high-level access codes. Very high. Only senior diplomatic officers have these codes." Emma felt cold. "The Zlians. Vextheron." Lyra did not answer directly. Instead, she showed Emma another file. This one contained audio recordings. The files were marked as private communications between Zlian delegates. Emma could hear Vextheron's voice in the recordings. He was speaking to other Jazlian officers. "The human girl is a test," Vextheron said in the recording. "The Earth people are trying to insert their genetic material into the Galactic Council. They call it diplomacy. I call it contamination. We are perfect beings. We should not allow inferior life forms to influence our decisions." Another voice spoke. "But Vextheron, the Council has accepted their membership. We cannot directly challenge the ruling." "We do not need to challenge it openly," Vextheron said. "We simply need to show that humans are too fragile to exist among us. One small accident. One child who gets hurt. It will prove that they do not belong here. No one will investigate. The cameras will show nothing. The records will be empty. It will be a simple matter of a weak species being too weak to survive. The recording ended. Emma felt like she could not breathe. They want to hurt me so that my people will leave the station. That is exactly what they want, Lyra said. And they have made it very difficult to stop them. The deleted camera files, the disabled safety systems, the high-level access codes. They have covered their tracks well. If you try to report this through normal channels, Vex the Wrong can deny everything. He can say the recordings are fake. He can say you are lying because you are frightened and lonely. Then what can I do? Emma asked. She was trying very hard not to cry. She was trying to be strong. You must be very careful, Lyra said. You must avoid being alone. You must tell people where you are going and when you will return. And you must document everything. Every small incident. Every time you feel unsafe. We must build a case that cannot be denied. Over the next few days, strange things happen more often. Emma was working in the agricultural sector with Marcus Webb, a human cargo handler. He was a kind man who always seemed interested in what she had to say. He was teaching her about the station's food systems. A heavy piece of equipment fell from a high shelf. It fell exactly where Emma had been standing just seconds before. Marcus pulled her away as the equipment crashed to the ground. The impact was so hard that it made a deep dent in the floor. That would have killed you, Marcus said. His voice was shaking. That metal piece weighs hundreds of kilos. If it had hit you, you would have died. Emma looked at the fallen equipment. She looked at the space where it had fallen. She knew it was not an accident. She felt it. But when she looked up at the shelf, she could see nothing unusual. The mounting bracket must have broken, she said to Marcus. But she did not believe it. She reported the incident to Dr. Hayes. He listened to her story. He seemed concerned for a moment. But then he received an urgent message about trade negotiations. He had to go to a council meeting. He promised to look into the equipment failure later. He never did. 3 days after the equipment fell, Emma was in the station's lower levels. This was where the power systems were located and where fewer people went. She was supposed to be studying the station's technical systems. She wanted to understand how the surveillance network worked. The door to the lower level section locked behind her. The lights went out. Emma heard sounds in the darkness. Something was moving toward her. She heard the scraping of crystal against metal. Zillions. She tried the door. It would not open. She pressed the emergency communication button on the wall. Nothing happened. The button was not working. The crystal footsteps came closer. Then a blue light appeared. Lyra was there. The Ziphian had a portable light source. Behind her was a security officer from a neutral species. Lyra had been following Emma. Lyra had known that this was coming. The crystal footsteps stopped. The Zillions realized that they had been seen. They began to move away quickly, their sounds echoing through the lower levels. "You saved my life," Emma said to Lyra. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was beating very fast. "Yes," Lyra said. "And now we have proof that they were trying to trap you in the lower levels." The security officer witnessed it. "That is why we needed this evidence. Words alone are not enough." Emma looked at the security officer, a being made of hardened skin that looked like rock. The officer nodded. "I will file a report," the officer said. "What I saw in the lower levels was a coordinated effort to trap a young diplomat. This is a serious crime." That night, Emma sent a message to General Katrina Brooks. She was the military commander of Earth's delegation. Emma told her everything. She sent her the recordings that Lyra had found. She described every incident. She explained a pattern. General Brooks arrived at the station within 12 hours. She was a tall woman with gray in her hair and a voice that made people listen. "This ends now," she said, when she saw Emma. "They will not touch you again." Emma wanted to believe her, but she knew that the real danger was still coming. They had tried small things. They had tested the waters. Soon, they would try something much worse. And when they did, it would not be an accident. It would be an attack. The question was not whether they would hurt her. The question was whether anyone would finally be ready to see it happen. Emma was in the agricultural sector early in the morning. She had come to work with the plants before most other beings on the station woke up. The plants did not judge her. The plants did not whisper about her or look at her with hate. She found peace here in the rows of green-growing things. She did not know that 3 Zillion beings were waiting for her. They had disabled the cameras in this section the night before. They had checked the schedules. They knew that Emma would come here when no one else was around. They knew that security would not be checking this area for another 2 hours. The Zillions stepped out from between the tall plants. There were 3 of them. Their crystalline bodies caught the artificial light and threw it in sharp, cutting ways. They were smaller than Vextheron, but they were still very strong. "Hello, Fragile One," said the lead Zillion. His voice was cold. "We've been waiting for you. Vextheron said you would come here. He said no one would see what we do to you. The cameras are off. No one is watching." Emma's heart began to beat very fast. She stepped backward. "What do you want?" she asked. She tried to make her voice sound brave, but it shook. "We want to show the galaxy that humans do not belong here," the Zillion said. "We will hurt you. Not too much. Just enough. Just enough to make you scream. Just enough to make your people see that you are too weak to be diplomats. Then you will go home. You will tell them that Earth is not ready for the stars." The 3 Zillions began to move toward Emma. Their movements were careful and controlled. They had done this kind of thing before. They knew exactly how to hurt someone without leaving marks that the cameras could see. Emma did something that the Zillions did not expect. She did not run. She did not cry. She thought of what she had read in her father's research. She thought about the structure of crystalline beings. She thought about their weak points. She moved to the side very quickly and grabbed a watering can. The can was filled with water that had been treated with minerals from Zillion soil. The Zillions used this water to help their plants grow. Emma threw the water directly at the lead Zillion. The being screamed. The water was acidic to his kind. It burned his crystalline skin. The other 2 Zillions moved toward Emma faster now, and they were angry. Emma moved between the rows of plants. She knocked over containers. She threw tools at them. She did not fight like a trained warrior. She fought like a small animal that was trapped and had no choice but to defend itself. Every movement was desperate. Every action was a choice between pain and survival. One of the Zillions caught her arm. His crystal fingers cut into her skin. She felt pain, real pain, hot and terrible. But she did not stop. She pulled away from him and hit him with a piece of the watering system that had broken off a plant. The Zillion's grip loosened. Emma ran. She heard the crystal beings chasing her through the rows. She heard them calling to each other. She heard their anger. She ran deeper into the agricultural sector, where the plants were tallest, where she could hide better. Then she heard a human voice. "Emma!" Marcus Webb came running around the corner. He was carrying a large container. When he saw the Zillions, he did not stop to think. He put himself between the crystal beings and the girl. "You need to stop right now," he said. His voice was very calm. He was not shouting. He was not scared. He was just a human being telling 3 alien beings to stop, and something about his absolute certainty made them pause. The Zillions looked at each other. "This is not your business, human," one of them said. "She is human," Marcus said. "That makes it my business. I will stand here and protect her. If you want to hurt her, you have to go through me first. The lead Slian laughed. You are so weak. We can break you easily. But he did not move forward. Something had changed in the Zlians' minds. They had expected to find a frightened girl alone. They had not expected to find a human male willing to die to protect her. On their world, beings did not do this. On their world, the weak were left to suffer alone. Beings did not sacrifice themselves. At that moment, Lyra appeared. She was carrying a computer pad, and she was not alone. With her were two other beings from different species, and they were all holding devices that recorded everything. Everything is documented, Lyra said. Every moment of this attack. We have sensors that work when cameras do not. We have recordings from angles that you did not know existed. We have your voices. We have your actions. We have proof. The Zlians realized that they had failed. They began to move away, back into the shadows of the agricultural sector. Marcus looked at Emma. Her arm was bleeding. Her clothes were torn, but she was alive. Can you walk? He asked. Emma nodded. Marcus picked her up carefully, supporting her weight. They walked toward the medical center, Lyra and the other witnesses following behind them. The medical center of the station was clean and bright. Human doctors worked there, but also doctors from many other species. One of them examined Emma's wounds. The cuts were deep, but not deadly. The pain was terrible, but not permanent. Dr. Hayes arrived as the doctors were treating her. When he saw her bruised and bleeding, something changed in his face. All of the distraction left his mind. All of the focus on trade negotiations disappeared. He looked at Emma like she was the most important thing in the entire galaxy. Tell me everything, he said. And this time, I am listening. Emma told him the whole story. She told him about the cameras. She told him about the recordings. She told him about how the Zlians had planned to hurt her while no one was watching. She told him about Marcus and Lyra and how they had saved her life. Dr. Hayes listened to every word. When she finished, he held her hand. I am sorry, he said. I should have listened to you. I should have protected you. I failed you, and I am sorry. You are listening now, Emma said. Yes, Dr. Hayes said. And I will never stop listening again. That night, General Katrina Brooks brought the evidence before the council. She brought the recordings. She brought the testimonies of the witnesses. She showed them the disabled cameras. She showed them the deleted files. She showed them everything. And this time, everyone listened. The council could not ignore it. The evidence was too clear. The pattern was too obvious. The Zlians had tried to hurt a human girl and make it look like an accident. The Zlians had disabled safety systems. The Zlians had destroyed records. This was not a small mistake. This was a crime. The galaxy was watching now. And the Zlians could not hide in the shadows anymore. The Great Council Chamber was the largest room on Stellar Station Harmony. It was shaped like a circle, and beings from 100 different species could sit in it at the same time. The ceiling was transparent. Stars shone through the glass, reminding everyone that they were just small creatures in a vast universe. Emma sat in the witness chair. It was raised above the council floor so that everyone could see her. She could see Vex Theron sitting among the other Zlians. He was looking at her with eyes that had no pupils, but seemed very angry. General Katrina Brooks stood next to Emma. She was wearing her military uniform. She had come to speak for Earth. Council. Elder Morinth was the one leading the hearing. He was a Therian, a being with smooth gray skin and a voice that carried the weight of centuries. The Therians were one of the oldest species in the galaxy. They did not take sides easily. But when they made a decision, everyone listened. Emma Hartley, Morinth said. His voice was very calm. Tell us what happened in the agricultural sector. Tell us everything you remember." Emma took a breath. She looked out at the council. There were so many beings watching her. Some had faces. Some had no faces at all. Some she could not even understand the shape of dot. She told the story from the beginning. She talked about arriving at the station. She talked about the cameras that did not work. She talked about the sounds in the corridors. She talked about the equipment that fell. She talked about the decompression chamber that nearly trapped her. She talked about Lyra warning her. She talked about the message that Dr. Hayes did not answer. And then she told them about the agricultural sector. "I was just watering the plants," she said. "I was not bothering anyone. I was not hurting anyone. But 3 Zlian beings came out of the shadows. They told me they wanted to hurt me. They told me that if I was hurt, my people would leave the station. They said no one would see them do it because the cameras were off." Emma paused. She could feel the emotions rising inside her. The fear, the pain, the betrayal. "When they started to attack me, I fought back," she said. "I did not know how to fight, but I knew that I would rather be hurt than let them hurt me while I did nothing. I threw water on one of them. I threw tools at them. And then Marcus Webb came to help me. He put himself between me and them. He was willing to die to protect me." The council chamber was completely silent. "Did you hurt any of the Zlians badly?" Morinth asked. "I hurt one of them," Emma said, "but not enough to cause permanent damage. I just wanted them to stop." Morinth looked at Vextheron. "What is your response to these claims?" Vextheron stood up. He was very tall. His body was made of bright crystal that seemed to glow with its own light. "These are lies," he said. "The human girl is making up stories to gain sympathy. Humans are known for being dishonest. We have never harmed this girl. We have never disabled cameras. We have never planned any attack. This is a conspiracy by those who want to damage the Zlian reputation." "We have evidence," General Brooks said. She activated the recording devices. The audio of Vextheron's voice filled the council chamber. "We simply need to show that humans are too fragile to exist among us," Vextheron's recorded voice said. "One small accident. One child who gets hurt. It will prove that they do not belong here." Vextheron sat down very quickly. Morinth looked at him for a long time. "You speak of humans as inferior. Yet it was a human girl who stood up to 3 of your people. It was a human male who was willing to die to protect someone who was not of his immediate family. These do not sound like the actions of weak beings." Lyra stood next to Emma. She presented the hidden camera recordings. She presented the evidence of the deleted files. She presented the data showing the pattern of disabled safety systems. Beings from dozens of different species came forward. They told stories. A young Ziphian had been isolated and harassed. A young Velian had been threatened. A young Kandorian had been told to leave the station or face harm. All of them had experienced the same pattern. The same Zlian faction. The same systematic abuse. Vextheron stood up again, but Morinth raised his hand. "You are silent," the old Therian said. "You have had your chance to speak. Now you will listen to what others have to say." A Velian scientist described how Zlian beings had destroyed her research. A Kandorian diplomat said he had been physically threatened in the corridors. A young Ziphian male said that Zlian beings had told him he did not belong at the station dot and through all of it. Emma sat in the witness chair and listened. After the testimony ended, Morinth closed the public hearing. He met with the council in a private chamber. They discussed the evidence for 3 hours. When they returned to the public chamber, Morinth made his ruling. The Zlian faction led by Vextheron is found guilty of violating the Interstellar Accord, he said. They have systematically harmed other species. They have destroyed safety systems. They have disabled recording devices. They have conspired to commit violence against a civilian diplomat. These are serious crimes. He looked at Vex Theron. You and your associates will be removed from your positions. You will be confined to a secure area of the station until a full trial can be held. You will face consequences for your actions. The Zlian beings did not move. They did not speak. They simply looked ahead with their eyes that had no pupils. Furthermore, Morant continued, the Council recognizes that there has been a serious failure in our security systems. Emma Hartley and other young diplomats were not protected as they should have been. We will implement new protocols immediately. The humans have offered to design new safety systems for this station. We accept their offer. He looked at Emma. Emma Hartley, he said, you are young. You are far from home. But you had courage when it was needed. You spoke the truth when it would have been easier to stay silent. You were willing to fight for yourself when no one else was fighting for you. The Galactic Council honors you for this. Emma felt tears on her face. She was not crying from sadness. She was crying from relief. She was crying because someone finally believed her. She was crying because the adults had finally listened. Dr. Hayes came to her and held her. He was crying too. That night, Emma was in the medical center. The doctors had bandaged all of her wounds. They said she would heal completely. There would be scars, but they would fade with time. Marcus came to see her. He brought flowers from the agricultural sector, flowers that came from Earth and had been brought to the station to remind humans of home. You were very brave, he said. So were you, Emma replied. You saved my life. We saved each other's lives, Marcus said. That is what humans do. We protect each other. Lyra also came to visit. The Ziphian brought data files showing that the Council had approved human-designed security systems for the entire station. You changed the galaxy, Lyra said. Not just this station. Other young diplomats from other species are seeing what you did. They are seeing that they do not have to suffer in silence. You gave them courage. Emma looked out the window of the medical center at the stars beyond the station. She thought about Earth, so far away. She thought about her father, who was dead, but who had been a scientist like her. She thought about how one person, even a small person, even a person who was far from home and frightened, could make a difference. She was still just 14 years old. She still did not feel very strong. But she was learning that strength was not always about muscles or crystal bodies or technology. Sometimes strength was about refusing to be silent. Sometimes strength was about telling the truth, even when people did not want to hear it. Vex Theron was in a secure cell now. He was waiting for his trial. He had believed that he was perfect. He had believed that weakness could be crushed without consequences. He had believed that the galaxy would never know what he had done. He had been wrong, and a small human girl from Earth had been the one to prove it. 3 months after the council hearing, Emma stood in the botanical gardens of Stellar Station Harmony. The scars on her arm had faded to pale lines. The physical wounds had healed. But Emma knew that healing took longer than just waiting for skin to close. She was not alone in the garden. There were other young beings here. A Ziphian named Kel, who had been bullied by Zlian traders. A Velian named Sessa, who had been told she was too strange to belong on a diplomatic station. A Kandorian named Thrum, who had been threatened with violence. They were sitting together in the shade of tall trees that came from different worlds. Tell us again, Kel said. Tell us how you knew they would come that day. I did not know, Emma said. Lyra suspected. She followed me everywhere. Marcus checked the schedules. They had planned it for weeks, but we all felt that something was coming. So we were ready. Sessa looked at Emma with great interest in her eyes. And when they started to attack, you did not run away? I did run, Emma said. But I also fought. I did not fight because I thought I could win. I fought because I was not going to let them hurt me without fighting back. That made the difference. When they saw that I would not just be a victim, they started to doubt themselves. They were counting on me being weak. They were counting on me being afraid. I was afraid, but I was also willing to be hurt rather than let them control me. Thrum made a sound like crystal chiming. It was a Kondorian sound that meant agreement. You changed everything. After what you did, the council listened to my complaints. The Zlian traders have to follow new rules now. They cannot threaten us anymore. Emma looked at all of them. These young beings from different species, all of them had suffered. All of them had been told that they did not belong in the galaxy. All of them had been isolated and hurt. But now they were sitting together. Now they were talking about what had happened. Now they were not afraid to say it out loud. The Zlians tried to make us invisible, Emma said. They thought that if no one saw what they did, it did not matter. They turned off the cameras and deleted the files. But they could not turn off all the eyes. They could not delete all the witnesses. And most importantly, they could not make us stop talking about it. Over the following months, Emma's life on the station changed completely. She was still 14 years old. She was still the youngest member of Earth's delegation. But she was not invisible anymore. She was not isolated anymore. Dr. Hayes made sure she attended all the important diplomatic meetings. "You deserve to be here," he said. "You have more credibility with the council than many of the adult diplomats. They know that you tell the truth." The Earth government sent her additional resources. They sent her books on science and diplomacy. They sent her messages of support from many scientists and researchers who had known her father. One message came from a woman named Rebecca Chun. She was a physicist who had worked with Emma's father. "Your father always said that the greatest discoveries came not from having the strongest body or the most advanced technology," Rebecca wrote. "They came from having the courage to see the truth and the willingness to speak about it, no matter the cost. You have his gift for truth. Use it well." Emma began to work with the council's security teams. She helped design the new surveillance systems. The systems were based on human designs, but they were built with help from all the different species on the station. They could not be easily disabled. They could not have their records deleted. They were designed to be transparent and honest. Marcus became Emma's closest human friend. He was not a scientist or a diplomat, but he had a gift for understanding people. He would sit with her in the gardens and tell her stories about human history. "Humans have always been like this," he said. "Small, fragile, but unwilling to give up. We have faced bigger and stronger things than the Zlians. But we survived because we stayed together. We protected each other. We told each other the truth. Is that why you stood in front of me?" Emma asked. "Even though you knew they could hurt you?" "Yes," Marcus said. "Because you were worth protecting. And because that is who humans are. We are the kind of beings who stand in front of others. We are the kind of beings who take the pain so that someone else does not have to." Lyra spent hours with Emma, teaching her about interspecies politics and diplomacy. But they were also friends now. Real friends. The kind of friends who knew each other's fears and dreams. "You gave me something," Lyra told Emma one day. "You showed me that it was possible to stand up to the powerful. You showed me that the truth matters. Before you, I thought that beings like me just had to accept what we were given. But you taught me that we can change things." 6 months after the attack in the agricultural sector, the full trial of Vex Theron and his associates took place. Emma did not have to testify this time. All of the evidence was already clear. All of the facts were already known. Vex Theron was found guilty of conspiracy, assault, tampering with station systems, and violating the Interstellar Accord. He was sentenced to 5 years of confinement, plus 1 year of community service, helping to rebuild the station's safety systems. His associates received similar punishments. More importantly, the Council made new rules. All species that wanted to be part of the galactic community had to accept the principle that the young and the weak deserve protection. They had to accept that diversity made the galaxy stronger, not weaker. They had to accept that all beings deserve safety and respect, regardless of their physical strength or their technological advancement. These were simple ideas, but they had required a 14-year-old girl from a Deathworld to speak them out loud before the galaxy was ready to listen. 1 year after the incident, Council Elder Morinth came to visit Emma in her new office. She had been given an official position as a junior diplomatic liaison. The office was small, but it was hers. She had earned it. "I have something for you," Morinth said. He handed her a small crystal object. It was beautiful, made from Zillion crystal material, but it was shaped like a hand holding something. The hand was open, offering something precious. "This is the symbol of the new peace accords," Morinth said. "The symbol of what happens when the strong learn to protect the weak instead of hurting them. Your name is on the first accord. Your bravery changed the law of the galaxy." Emma held the crystal in her hands. It caught the light and threw it in many directions, like hope scattered across the darkness. "I did not do it alone," she said. "Marcus saved me. Lyra helped me. The witnesses told the truth." Dr. Hayes finally listened. "Yes," Morinth said. "And that is the real lesson, is it not? That none of us can do anything alone. That we need each other. That the strength of a species is not measured by its muscles or its crystal structures. It is measured by whether we choose to protect each other." Emma looked out the window of her new office at the vast station beyond. She could see beings of hundreds of different species working together, building together, learning from each other. She thought about her father, who had believed in the power of science and truth. She thought about Earth, so far away. She thought about what it meant to be human in a galaxy that had once thought humans were too fragile to matter. That night, Emma made a recording. She sent it to Earth, to the science centers where her father had worked. She sent it to the schools where young people were learning about the galaxy. "I am Emma Hartley," she said into the recording device. "I am from a death world called Earth. For a long time, I thought that being from a harsh world made me weak. I thought that my body was too soft, my bones too fragile, my strength too small. But I learned something different." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "I learned that the real strength does not come from your body or your technology. It comes from your willingness to stand up for what is right, even when you are afraid. It comes from your willingness to protect others, even when it costs you something. It comes from your willingness to tell the truth, even when the truth is hard to hear." She looked directly at the camera. "I am human. I am from a death world. And I am strong, not because of what I can do, but because of who I choose to be. And that strength has changed the galaxy." She ended the recording. Years later, when Emma was older, she would work as a full diplomatic ambassador for Earth. She would help bring dozens of new species into the galactic community. She would create the first schools on Stellar Station Harmony, where young beings of different species could learn together. But it all started in the agricultural sector, when a small 14-year-old girl refused to be a victim. It all started when she said no. It all started when she told the truth. The Zillions had believed that no one would see them hurt the Deathworld girl. They had believed that she was too weak to matter. They had believed that even if she screamed, no one would listen. They had been wrong about every single thing. Because Emma Hartley was human. And humans had a gift that no crystal could break, no technology could overcome, and no darkness could hide. Humans had the gift of refusing to disappear. And that gift changed everything.